Welcome everybody. Today we want to speak about the inyan of mechirat chamets. Nowadays, people like to take everything that has mamashut chamets and take it out of the house. And we need to view and see what's the reason for that. So first we need to know that the Torah forbids us from having any kind of chametz on Pesach, and it's under the isur of bal yira'eh uval yimatzeh. Two lavim deoraita, for having such a thing in our possession, any place in the house or any other place that would belong to us. And therefore, one should make sure that he doesn't have any of those chametz on Pesach. But if one wants to get rid of the chametz in a way that he would be able to use it after Pesach, Chachamim restricted having chametz shavar alav Pesach, having chametz after Pesach that the person violated bal yira'eh uval yimatzeh, which means he had that chametz over Pesach. And therefore, anybody that had chametz over Pesach, the chametz after Pesach, would be asur. You're not allowed to eat it. And therefore, people normally have to get rid of all the chametz. Not only if he left it in the house purposely, also if he left it not on purpose. He was shogeg, or even anus, a person that couldn't get rid of the chametz for some reason. Also, all those chametz would be asur after Pesach. It's called chametz shavar alav Pesach. Not only that, even chametz that belong to other people, we're not allowed to benefit from it. So therefore, what do we do with the chametz that's left over on Pesach? We need either to sell it to a goy, and then it doesn't belong to us anymore, or the other way to do is to get rid of all the chametz. The problem with mechirat chametz would be that since Chachamim, when they applied mechirat chametz, it was for those people that had a large amount of chametz. They had a lot of beer, they had a lot of other chametz products, and therefore they wanted to help them out, and they would be able to sell it to a goy and then get it back from the goy after Pesach. Today, the mechirat chametz is done even for a smaller amount, and that is something that some people don't like to do. They don't like to get into that leniency of the mechirat chametz. Another reason people don't like to do mechirat chametz is because there are those poskim, like the Bach, that hold mechirat chametz has to be done in a way that you actually take out the chametz out of the house, or you hand the goy the key to the house. If you didn't hand the goy the key to the house, so how would the goy be able to come in and get the chametz that he just purchased? He bought the chametz from you, and then he wants to come into the house is locked. So that shows a lack in the possession of the goy, in the kinyan of the goy, of the sell of the mechirat chametz. And therefore, there are those poskim, like we mentioned, that would not like to do mechirat chametz in such a fashion. You have to be able to actually give the goy the key. If a person wants to be lenient about that, he should at least put the key somewhere that a goy could always take and come in and take his own chametz. And a person should write on the bill of the mechirat chametz where is the key and where the chametz is in the house, and therefore the goy could always come and collect his chametz, especially if a person that is not planning to be on Pesach in the house. Therefore he needs to do such a thing. He needs to leave the key somewhere and tell the goy, this is where the key is. It's by my neighbor, you can find it there, and the chametz is put by this cabinet and that cabinet, and you can always come and collect it. So according to all that we're saying, that those that didn't want to rely on all these leniencies, and therefore they don't keep chametz over Pesach at all, but only if it's real chametz, not if it's medicine that might have some chametz ingredients in it, or other things like that. Only if it's real chametz, like pasta, cereal, beer, and so on. So they get rid of that because they don't want to rely on the leniencies we just spoke. Those that want to do that, fine. Those that want to sell the chametz, obviously, the mechirat chametz la'alacha, we hold that is good, and one could rely on it. Secondly, a person that does such a mechirat chametz, he sells it with a rabbi. When he sells it to the rabbi, some people think you need to do some kinyan over the mechirat chametz, over the shlichut. None of that is necessary. Once you appoint a rabbi, You just tell them, you can even tell them over the phone, this is my name, my address, and this is where you can find the keys to enter to my house. And that should be sufficient and good enough. Also, some people think that Mechirat Chametz is like a religious thing, and they don't understand what's the purpose behind it. So one needs to know, Mechirat Chametz means you're selling the goy the chametz that you own, and therefore, with that thing, the chametz doesn't belong to you anymore. But it's a real mechira, it's a real sale, which means if the goy would knock on the door and he wants to come in and get the chametz on Pesach, a person must let him in and must give him the chametz that he bought from you. And therefore, with that, a person could rely on mechirat chametz lechatchila, and if one wants to be machmir, the poskim say it's a good thing to be machmir and get rid of the real chametz, as we spoke, like pasta, bread, and so on. Those things, if one wants to be machmir and get rid of, that's a good thing.